My eyes will give a certain knowledge from a different standpoint, but that will not be the whole. I can think about you, again the same, but I cannot feel you in part. If I feel you at all, I feel you in your wholeness. That's why, unless you know through love, you never know the wholeness of any person. Only love can reveal you the whole personality, the whole being, the essential, the total. Because love means knowing through the heart, feeling through the heart. So to me, feeling and knowing are not two fragments of your being. Feeling is your whole being. Knowing is just a fragment of it. To religion, love is the highest knowledge. That's why religion is expressed more in poetic terms than in scientific. Scientific terms cannot be used. They belong to the realm of knowing. Poetry can be used. And those who have come to know reality through love, whatsoever they say becomes a poetry. Upanishads, Vedas, the sayings of Jesus, our Buddha, our Krishna, they are all poetic statements. It is not just a coincidence that all the old religious scriptures are written in poetry. It has a significance. It shows that there is some affinity within the world of a poet and the world of a mystic. But the mystic is also using the language of the heart. And the poet is only a mystic in certain moments of flight. Just as you can jump. You can jump and for a few seconds you go away from the gravitation of the earth. But again you are back on the earth. A poet means a person who has been for some seconds into a flight of the world of the mystics. He had some glimpses. Mystic means one who has gone beyond gravitation completely, who lives in the world of love, who lives through heart. This has become his very abode. For the poetic person, it is just a glimpse. Sometimes he falls down from the head to the heart. But this is just for a time being. Again he is back to the head. So if you see a beautiful poem, don't try to see the poet who has written it. Because you will not meet the same person. You will be disappointed. Because you will meet a very ordinary man. He had a glimpse. For certain moments reality was revealed to him. He had come down to the heart. But he doesn't know the passage. He is not the master of it. It has been happening. He cannot move to it by his own will. When Coleridge died, he left near about 40,000 incomplete poems. He completed only 7 poems really in his whole life. He became a great poet, one of the greatest of the world. He was asked many times that why you go on piling up incomplete things and when you are going to complete them. He said, I cannot do anything. Sometimes few lines come to me and then they stop. So how I can complete them? I will wait. I will have to wait. If it happens again and the glimpse comes to me and I am revealed again the world, the reality, then I will complete it. But on my own I can do nothing. He must have been a very sincere poet. To find such sincere poets is difficult because the tendency of the mind is to supply. If 3 lines have come, then you will supply the 4th, and the 4th will kill all the 3 because it will come from a very lower state of mind. When you are back on the earth, when you jumped and you were freed for some moments from the gravitation, you had a different dimension of being. A poet moves on the earth, sometimes he jumps. In those jumps he has glimpses. A mystic lives in the heart. He doesn't move on the earth. The heart has become his abode. So he doesn't really create poetries, but whatsoever he does becomes poetic. Whatsoever he says becomes poetry. Really a mystic cannot use prose, because his prose is also poetry. It is coming through the heart. It is coming through love. Put mind stuff in such inexpressible fineness above, below, and in your heart. But the heart is your total being. And when you are total, you can know the total. Remember this. Only the similar can know the similar. When you are fragmentary, you cannot know the total. As within, as without. When you are total within, the total reality without is revealed to you. You have become capable to know it. You have earned the right to know it. When you are fragmented within, the reality is fragmented without. So whatsoever you are within will be the without for you. Deep in the heart, the whole world is different. The gestalt is different. I am looking at you. If I am looking at you through the head, through intellect, through one of my parts of knowing, then few friends are here. Individuals, egos, separate. But if I am looking at you through the heart, then individuals are not here. Then just an oceanic consciousness is here. And individuals are just waves. If I look at you through the heart, then you and your neighbor are not two. Then the reality is between you and your neighbor. You are just two poles. And the real is just in between. Then here there is an ocean of consciousness in which you exist as waves. But waves are not separate. They are linked together. And you are every moment melting into the other, whether you know it or not. The breath that was within you just a moment before has left you. Now it is moving into your neighbor. Just a moment before it was your life. And you would have died without it. And now it is moving into your neighbor. It is his life now. Your body is continuously radiating vibrations. You are a radiator. And your life energy is constantly moving into the neighbor. And his life energy is moving into you. If I look you at from my heart, if I look you with loving eyes, if I look you totally, then you are just radiating points. And life is moving continuously from you to other and to others to you. And not only it is so just here in this room, this whole universe is a constant flux of life energy. It goes on moving. There are no individual units. It is a cosmic whole. But through intellect, the cosmic never appears. Only fragments, atomic fragments appear. And this is not a question which can be comprehended through intellect. If you try to comprehend through intellect, it will be impossible to comprehend it. It is totally a different outlook from a different point of existence. If you are total within, the totality without is revealed to you. That revelation, some have called God realization. Some have called moksha, liberation. Some have called nirvana, cessation. Different words, altogether different words, but signifying the same core, the same essence. One thing is basic to all these expressions, that the individual disappears. You may call it God realization, then you are no more an individual. You can call it liberation, then you are no more a self. You can call it cessation as Buddha has called it. Just as a lamp, a flame ceases to be, disappears, disperses. You cannot find the flame again anywhere. You cannot locate it. It has gone into non-being. The individual disappears. But this point has to be pondered. Why? All religions say that the individual, the self, the ego disappears when you realize the truth. If all religions emphasize this, this means that the self must be illusory, otherwise how it can disappear? And the self must not be there really. Only then it can disappear. This may seem paradoxical, but this is so. Only that which is not can disappear. That which is will persist to be. It cannot disappear. Just because of the head, a false entity has come into being, the individual. If you come down to the heart, the false entity disappears. It was a creation of the head. From the heart, the cosmic is, the individual is not. The whole is, the parts are not. And remember, when you are not, you cannot create a hell. When you are not, you cannot be in misery. When you are not, there can be no anxiety, no suffering. All anxiety, all suffering exists because of you. The shadow of the shadow. The self is unreal, the ego is unreal. And because of that unreal self, many unreal shadows are created. And they follow you. And you go on fighting with those shadows. You will never be victorious. Because the base goes on hidden within you. Swami Ramtip has said somewhere that he was staying in a house, in a poor villager's house. The small child of the villager was playing just before the hut. And the sun was rising. And the child saw his shadow. He tried to catch it. But the more he will move, the shadow will move ahead. The child started crying. He was a failure. He tried in every way to catch it. But it was impossible to catch it. And to catch a shadow is impossible not because shadow is such a difficult thing to catch. It is impossible because the child was moving to catch it. And when he will move, the shadow will move ahead. And you cannot catch a shadow because the shadow has no substance, and only substance can be caught. So Ramtip was sitting there, he was laughing and the child was crying. And the mother was at a loss what to do, how to console the child. So she said to Ramtip, Swamiji, can you help me? And Ramtip was laughing and the child was crying. So Ramtip went near the child, he caught the child's hand and put it on his head. And the shadow was caught. Now the child was putting his hand on his head, the shadow was caught. The child started laughing, now he could see that his hand has caught the shadow. You cannot catch a shadow, but you can catch yourself. And the moment you catch yourself, the shadow is caught. Suffering is just a shadow to the ego. And we are all like that child, fighting with suffering, anxiety, anguish, and trying to disperse it. We can never be victorious. It is not a question of strength. The whole effort is absurd, impossible. You must catch the self, the ego. And once you catch it, suffering suddenly disappears. It was just a shadow. But there are persons who start fighting with the self. It has been taught that discuss the self, be egoless, and you will be in bliss. So they start fighting the self, the ego. But if you fight, you are still believing that the self exists. Your fight will give food to it. It will become an energy-giving thing to it. You will be feeding it. This technique says don't think of the ego. Just move from the head to the heart and the ego will disappear. The ego is a projection of the head. Don't fight with it. You can go on fighting for lives together, but you remain in the head, you cannot win it. Just change the standpoint. Just move from the head to a different standpoint, to a deeper standpoint of the being. And the whole thing changes, because now you can look in a different perspective. From the heart there is no ego. Because of this, we have become afraid of the heart. We never allow the heart to have its own way. We always interfere with the heart. We always bring mind into it. We try to control the heart through the mind, because we have become afraid, because if you move to the heart, you lose yourself. And this losing is just like death. Hence the incapacity to love. Hence the fear of falling in love. Because you lose yourself. You are not in control. Something greater than you grips you, takes possession. Then you are not on sure ground. Then you don't know where you are moving. So the head said, don't be a fool. Move with reason. Don't be mad. So whenever someone is in love, everyone thinks he is mad. He himself thinks that something has gone crazy. I am not in my senses. Why it happens? Because now there is no control. Something is happening he cannot control. He cannot manage and manipulate. Rather, something is manipulating him. Greater force has taken him. He is possessed. But unless you are ready to be possessed, there can be no God for you. Unless you are ready to be possessed, there is no mystery for you. And no bliss. No benediction. One who is ready to be possessed by love, by prayer, by the cosmos, it means one who is ready to die as an ego. Only that one can know what life is really, what life has to give, what is possible, becomes immediately actual. But you must put yourself at the stake. But this technique is beautiful. It doesn't talk anything about your ego. It doesn't say anything. It simply gives you a technique. And if you follow the technique, the ego would have disappeared. The second sutra, consider any area of your present form as limitlessly spacious. The same, through a different door. But the basic essential is the same, and that is to destroy limits. Mind creates limits. If you don't think, you move into the unlimited. Or, from a different door, you can try with the unlimited and you will fall from the mind. The mind cannot coexist with the unlimited, with the undefined, unbordered, infinite. The mind cannot exist with the unbordered. So if you can try something limitless, the mind will disappear. And this technique gives you, consider any area of your present form as limitlessly spacious. Any area. You can just close your eyes and imagine that your head has become infinite. No, there are no boundaries to it. It goes on and on and on and on, and there is no boundary to it. Your head has become the whole cosmos, without any boundaries. If you can imagine, suddenly thoughts will stop. If you can imagine your head as infinite, thinking will not be there. Thinking can exist only in a very narrow mind. The narrower it is, the better for thinking. The greater the mind, lesser the thinking. And when the mind becomes total space, there is no thinking. Buddha is sitting under his Bodhi tree. Can you imagine what he is thinking? He is not thinking at all. His head is the whole cosmos. He has become spacious, infinitely spacious. This technique is good for those who can imagine. It will not be good for all. Those who can imagine. And the imagination becomes so real that you cannot really say whether it is imagination or real. Then it will work to you. Otherwise it will not be of much use. But don't be afraid, because at least 30% people are capable of such imagination. These people are very powerful. If your mind is not very much educated, it will be easy for you to imagine. If it is educated, then the creativity is lost. Then your mind is just a storage. It is a bank. And the whole education system is a banking system. They go on banking and you dumping. Whatsoever they feel has to be dumped, they go on dumping. They use your mind as a storage. Then you cannot imagine. Then whatsoever you do is just repeating that which has been taught to you. So those who are uneducated, they can use this technique very easily. And those who have come out of their universities without being distorted by the universities, they can also use it. Those who are really still alive, even after so much education, they can do it. Women can do it more easily than men. All those who are imaginative, dreamers, they can do it very easily. But how to know whether you can do it or not? So you can do a small experiment. just before entering it. Just lock your both hands and close your eyes for 5 minutes, anytime. Relax in your chair, lock your both hands. And just imagine that the hands are so locked that even if I try, I will not be able to open them. It will look absurd to you because they are not locked. But you just go on imagining that they are locked. 5 minutes, go on thinking. And then say 3 times in the mind that now I will try to open, but I know it is impossible. They are locked and they cannot be opened. Then try to open. 30% of you will not be able to open their hands. They are really locked. And the more you will try, the more you will feel it is impossible. You will start perspiring. You cannot open your own hands. Then this method is for you. Then you can try this method. If you easily open your hands and nothing has happened, this method is not for you. You will not be able to do it. But don't get scared if your hands are not opening, and don't try too much, because the more you will try, the more it will be difficult. Just close your eyes again and imagine that now they are unlocking. 5 minutes you will need again. And go on imagining that when now you will try to open, they will open immediately. Unlock the same way as you locked them, just through imagination. And if this is possible that hands become locked just by imagination and you yourself cannot open them, then this technique will work miracles for you. And in these 112 techniques, there are many which work with imagination. For all those techniques, this hand locking experiment will be good. Just an experiment, whether the technique is for you or not. Consider any area of your present form as limitlessly spacious. Any. You can consider the whole body. Just close your eyes and consider that the whole body is spreading, 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 and then the boundaries are lost. It has become infinite. What will happen? You cannot even conceive what will happen. If you can conceive yourself that you have become the cosmos, that's the meaning. Infinite. All that is bound with your ego will not be found there. Your name, your identity, all will be lost. Your poorness or richness, your misery, your health, your disease, all will be lost. Because they are part of a finite body. With the infinite body, they cannot exist. And once you know this, come back to your finite body, but now you can laugh. And even in the finite, you can have the sense, the feel of the infinite then. Then you can carry it. Then you can carry it. But try. And it will be good if you try from the head. Because that is the base of all illness. So close your eyes, lie down on the ground or sit on the chair, relax. Just look within the head. Feel the walls of the head spreading, expanding. If you feel that it will be very staggering, then try it slowly. First think that your head has come to occupy the whole room. Actually, you will feel your skin touching the walls. If you can lock your hands, this will happen. You will feel the coldness on the walls. With closed eyes, your skin is touching. You will feel the pressure. Then go on moving. Your head has gone beyond. Now the house has come within the head. Then the whole town has come within the head. Then go on spreading. Within 3 months, slowly you can come to the point when sun rises in your head. It starts moving your head. It has become infinite. It will give you such a deep freedom you have not known. And all the misery that belongs to this narrow mind will disappear. In such a state, Upanishadic seers could say, Aham Brahmasmi, I am the divine, I am the absolute. In such ecstasy, Analhak was uttered. Mansur cried in ecstasy, Analhak, I am the God. Mohammedans couldn't understand it. Really, no sectarians will be able to understand such things. They thought he has gone mad, but he was not mad. He was the sanest person possible. Then they thought he has become egoist. He says, I am the God. So they killed him. While he was killed, his hands were cut, he was laughing. And he was saying, Analhak, Aham Brahmasmi, I am God. And someone asked, Mansur, why are you laughing? You are being murdered. He said, you cannot murder me, I am the whole. You can murder only a part. How can you murder a whole? And whatsoever you do to it cannot make it disappear. Mansur is reported to have said that if you really wanted to kill me, you must have come at least 10 years before. Then I was. Then you could have killed me. But now you cannot kill me because I am no more. I have killed that ego myself, which could have been killed and murdered. Mansur was practicing certain Sufi methods of this type, in which one goes on expanding. And then the expanse becomes so infinite that one is no more. Then the whole is, and the individual is not. In these few decades, 2 or 3 decades in the West, psychedelic drugs have become very much significant. And the attraction is really of expansion. Because under the influence of the drug, your narrowness, your limitedness is lost. But it is a chemical change. Nothing spiritual happens out of it. It is just a forced violence on the system. You force the system to break. You can have a glimpse that you are no more confined to anything. You have become infinite, liberated. But this is because of the chemical enforcement. Back, you will be again into the narrow body. And now this body will feel more narrower than before. Again, you will be confined into the same imprison. And now this imprison will be more intolerable. because you have seen a glimpse. And because that glimpse was through the chemicals, you are not master of it. You will become a slave. You will become addicted. Now you will need it more and more. This technique is a spiritual psychedelic. If you practice it, a spiritual change will take place. And it will not be chemical. And you will be the master of it. And take it as a criterion. If you are the master, then the thing is spiritual. If you are the space, then beware. The thing may appear to be spiritual. It cannot be. Anything that becomes addictive, powerful, enslaving, imprisoning, is leading you towards more slavery, more unfreedom, whatsoever the appearance. So take it as a criterion that whatsoever you do, your mastery must grow through it. You must become more and more master of it. So it is said, and I repeat it again and again, that when really the meditation has happened to you, you will not need it to do it. If you still need it to do it, it has not yet really happened. Because that too has become a slavery. Even meditation must disappear. A moment must come when you need not do anything. Just as you are divine. Just as you are the bliss, the ecstasy. But this technique is good for expansion, for expanding the consciousness. Before trying it, try the hand locking experiment. So you can feel. If your hands become locked, you have a very creative imagination. And your imagination is not important. You can work miracles through it. Enough for today.